I notice that sometimes when I enter a recorded meeting, I have to acknowledge that I understand that it's being recorded. Good morning, Lila. So we have one more attendee. Tristan, I am also going to make you a co-host so you can help out with letting in any latecomers into the room. Lila, you look very festive in your Santa hat. Thank you. All right, so I'm just going to switch over to screen share. We also have interpretation available, so I'm going to enable interpretations for anyone who is interested in English to Spanish interpretation. You should have a toggle at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So, all right, I'm just going to share my screen. Just bear with me 1 second, please. Present. All right, so once again, families, thank you for being here this morning, Thursday, December 16th, a day and a half before our break. So I know it's a lot to ask people to be at these meetings, and this meeting, once again, is going to be recorded, so it will be available for everyone's viewing pleasure after this date. Also accompanying this presentation is a PDF PowerPoint that I will also make available for anyone to review at your leisure as you wish. I do want to first and foremost acknowledge the assistance of one of our school site council members, Sarah Warnbrock, who has brilliantly helped me gather, synthesize, put together and assembled a vast amount of material into a PowerPoint presentation. So thank you very much, Sarah. And I also want to thank, although teachers are not here on this call this morning, I want to thank the teachers for volunteering up their classrooms and some of their activities that you will see in images throughout this presentation. Once again, interpretation is available if you are interested in English to Spanish interpretation. The toggle bottom is at the bottom of your Zoom screen. I am going to skim through this presentation. Like I said before, there is an immense amount of information, and I'm not going to read it to you. I will go over this quickly. You can, in more detail after the fact, review the PDF with all the fine print and the detail included. This is a living document. For those of you that are not familiar with the school plan for student achievement, also known as the SPSA, the SPSA, this is a living document that is co-created between the administration of the school and the school site governance council, which is a committee that consists of teachers and Rogers staff. And together every year we come together at least 6 times, more like 8, 9 times, and we meet to discuss the school goals, where we want the school to go and how we're going to achieve that. And that's what I'm going to go over in detail this morning. Finally, before I continue, what you see today represents a very small sliver of what occurs at Rogers. It is only a small reflection of the work that occurs. It's only a small reflection of the teaching and the learning. Although we focus on 3 larger goals, these goals are representative of much, much, much more. So when you hear your child talking of school, when you are in the classrooms, for those of you that volunteer, or when you are able to connect some of the student work that your child brings home, you may not immediately be able to connect that work or those experiences with the work that you see in this presentation today, but it is connected. And like I said, it's representative of a much larger goal that we have as a school for student learning. I will hold a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So if you have questions, please jot them down, keep note of them, don't forget them, don't be shy, but please do wait until the end of the presentation. All right, so with that, welcome to those of you that have been joining us the last few minutes, and we will proceed. So the school plan for student achievement, otherwise known as the SPSA for 21-22 school year. So what is the SPSA, you're saying? And this document here shares some of the details. The SPSA, this document here shares what we will accomplish the goals of this presentation. Primarily, why is the SPSA document important? Number 2, what are our goals and strategies? How do we know when we have achieved these goals? Number 4, how do we fund these strategies? How do we fund these activities that occur in the classroom? And finally, what is our cycle of evaluation and improvement. And with many of these slides, you will notice we have printed them up by showing pictures of kids. So these are a few snapshots, glimpses into the lives of students at Will Rogers. And we have included these just so you can see in real time what it is that these goals mean and how they play out in the daily lives of our students. So why is a SPSA strategic plan important? First and foremost, it is designed to improve the academic performance of all pupils. And I emphasize all pupils. And we understand that all students are not equal, that they come from different backgrounds. We have different developmental stages, which is absolutely normal. And in terms of their social emotional learning and academic progress, no one class is the same, and students within that class represent a vast array of abilities. It's also important to close the achievement gap. This is something that we hear across the nation, that there's a gap in performance between subgroups of students. And one of our primary goals as an institution, as a school, as a district, is to narrow that achievement gap so that all students are making progress and performing. We want to develop critical thinking, higher order thinking, problem-solving skills, which transfer across all subjects. One of the reasons why we are an inquiry-based school, an international baccalaureate candidate schools, we recognize that different disciplines must be connected. They are interdependent, and it's important for students to be able to realize. We want to develop academic language for all students, especially our English learners. We want to promote a positive and inclusive school culture. We want to align the Will Rogers learning community goals with the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District mission and vision. And finally, we want to coordinate data-driven and research-based teaching strategies and align those with available funds. This is a dense page. I'm going to read this page, and you will see these three goals repeated throughout this presentation. I will not read these three goals in their entirety again, but I do want to go through them quite quickly and thoroughly at this point so that you understand what the content of these three goals are. So these three goals help our teachers, our staff, improve student achievement. And they clarify exactly what students should learn and the standard of learning that is expected and the measures that will be used to determine if students have achieved that standard. So goal number one, based on the previous year's CASP mathematics and ELA exams, in addition to other local measures, the percentage of students in grades 3 to 5 at Will Rogers Learning Community who perform at level 3 on target and level 4 above target will increase by 5% by June 2022. That's a loaded goal. And in layman's terms, that means that we are intent on improving the performance and progress of students in grades 3 to 5 based on the state measures, which is the state exam that students take in the spring of each year, as well as based on the assessments and the tests that are provided to students throughout the school year at school. When we say we want to increase the number of students by 5%, hypothetically, if we had 100 students who were performing on or above grade level standards, to increase that by 5% would mean that we would then have 105 students who are performing on or above grade level standards. It's small, it's achievable, it's realistic. Do we want to do more than 5%? Absolutely, but we wanted to craft these goals in a way that would actually occur and something that we could accomplish. And I also want to mention, I will say this again, that we are coming out of a very difficult situation. We are coming out of 18 months of unprecedented experience for students in school. And we have to recognize that that has caused some significant challenges for our school. Goal number two, as measured by, but not limited to, previous year's CASP, ELA, and LPAC exams, in addition to reclassification rates, English learners at Will Rogers Learning Community will demonstrate a 5% increase or increased in skill score in proficiency with a focus in the lowest third by June 2022. So we are saying here that our hope for our English language learners, that based on various measures, they will, the number of students will increase by 5%. And I do have some data to show later that demonstrates the progress that Rogers has made, or the data that reflects what's happening at Rogers with our English learners. But I do want to emphasize again that English learners are a focus of our instruction. We recognize that certain students need to have additional attention provided to them, and it is on our mind, and therefore it is present in this second goal. Third goal, by June 2022, all staff and faculty at Will Rogers Learning Community will implement practices of social emotional learning by implementing restorative practices, responsive classroom, the IB learner profile, and the social justice standards as measured by the local SEL assessments, academic gains, and attendance. All right, so that's a lot. So I don't expect anyone to remember that as we move on, but they will be repeated throughout this presentation. So goal number one, what strategies do we use to meet goal number one? Or in other words, what are we doing as teachers, as a school, to make sure that we accomplish goal number one? So we have a document called the School Implementation Plan. The School Implementation Plan is a plan that was developed by our school leadership team that basically addresses what's happening in the classroom. What are teachers doing? What are we focusing on as a school, as a unit, to ensure that some progress is being made towards our goal? So our School Implementation Plan, as it has existed over the last 3 years, focused on writing. It focused on inquiry cycles in which teachers would come together, examine students' writing, and be able to implement measures in the classroom to support our students. It is primarily based on the idea that teachers, in order to implement change and progress in the classroom, have to plan together, they have to collaborate, and they have to perform inquiry together. That's something that we were very proud of, that we are very proud of. And as we continue to re-enter into the reality of school in this current age, it's something that is a challenge. Time is a challenge, coming together and managing all the tasks is a challenge, but it still exists written down in our school implementation plan. We have a math curriculum. I'm going to skim over this. Like I said, we have a math curriculum that draws on many different sources in order to perform, to help assist our students perform as mathematicians, not just automatons performing mathematical equations, but actually thinking through and reasoning with mathematical concepts and problems. We have professional learning communities, teachers that come together regularly to look at student work, to talk about problems of practice, to help their students learn in the classroom. One of our big focuses for the last few years has been our English language work with reading and writing with the Teachers College Reading and Writing Project. So we have staff developers that actually fly across the country and have been with us, even this year in person at Rogers, working with teachers, working with students to help our students become more proficient in their areas of reading and writing. And finally, in this one particular goal, collaborative inquiry. Teachers, this is one example of an activity that's attached to funding. Teachers will receive collaborative planning hours to participate in cycles of inquiry related to students, international baccalaureate, STEM, and other academic subjects. So the reason why I'm going through these 5 particular strategies is just to represent to you a small portion of what we do as staff to address this goal. And as with anything, any activity, any material is attached to funding. The purpose of the SPSA document, one of the purposes is to help us allocate our funding sources so that we can intentionally and strategically support our students. So each one of these areas here is attached to funding and is designed to support our students. I'm going to skip over this because it's a continuation of what we had done previously. Like I said, you will have a copy of this. You will have a copy of this provided to you, so you can look in more detail at the different strategies and activities. But we are still on goal number 1, and as you can see, there's 3 slides now that list various strategies. How do we know when we've met goal number 1? So what you see in front of you is some data that represents our students who perform in blue, which is what we say below grade level, in the green, which is approaching grade level standards, orange, on target, that's where we want students to be, and level 4, above grade level standards. So when we see orange, when we see purple in these columns, we celebrate. That's where we want students to be. I want to preface that what you see in front of you is one snapshot of data that occurred. It is not all the data. It is one snapshot of data. And by providing various snapshots, data points, we as a school, as a district, are able to measure progress and performance. We're able to identify areas that we can celebrate in terms of, yes, students are doing well, they are meeting the goals. And then there's areas where we need to do a little bit more work. And when there are areas that suggest that more work has to be done, then we go back to the strategies and the activities. We meet, we collaborate, we decide what are we going to do as teachers to improve that. And if that requires funding, then we reallocate funding to support that. So what you can see here, we have 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. There are purple boxes or pink boxes around the orange and purple. And those areas are the students, represent the students who are on or above target. So for instance, in the 5th grade, we have 28% and 29%. That's a total of 57% of our students who are on or above target. We want that to increase vastly. But please remember, this is a snapshot of data from the beginning of the year. And when we re-examine data at the end of the year, we will see progress moving forward. This is, I'm sorry, my apologies. The previous slide was English language arts, and this is mathematics. And again, we have the same data representation. What you see here is not as much proficiency in mathematics as we see in English language arts. So one of the overall themes for us as a school and a district is how do we support students' progress in mathematics so that we can see more equity between the data for ELA and for mathematics. Again, 5th grade example, we have 9% who are above and 36% of our students who are on target, for a total of 45% of our students at this point in time who were on or above grade level standards in mathematics. And again, when we compare this data to similar data at different points throughout the year, our anticipation is that we're going to see progress. Going back to goal 1, our progress as we've defined it is a 5% increase in the number of students who are performing on or above. Goal number 2, and I'm not going to read it, but just to review, it's the goal that is dedicated to our English learners. And similar to goal number 1, you will see down the chart that we have various strategies and activities that support our English learners. Some of them are very, very substantial. Our literacy and language interventionist, Lindsay Light, is a full-time teacher who resides at Rogers and works with our teachers and works with our students. Our instructional coach, again, a full-time position that resides at Rogers, Gabriela Gonzalez, who works with students, who works with teachers. Workshop model of English language arts. That's what teachers do. That's what it is that happens in the classroom. That is supported by our work with Teachers College, going back to the previous goal number 1. Of course, with all learning, with all teaching, there's a focus on subgroups of students. And in this case, the subgroup of students are English learners, those students who require some additional support in developing proficiency in the English language. Teachers have to be aware of this. They have to be understanding that there's different strategies and approaches that need to happen in the classroom in order to support these students. We also, going back to another example on this slide that is attached to money as well, online programs. So we have Lexia, we have Freckle. I'm sure some of you recognize this. We have Myon, Raz Kids, Dreambox. These are subscription programs that occur throughout the school day in very small pockets of time, but they're also available for students at home. And they are, again, designed by their very nature to support students at different levels, including our English learners. This is a continuation of goal number 2. We have writing performance, we have collaborative planning, grade level, professional learning communities, inquiry work, and then very, very importantly, this very last column, or I'm sorry, the last row, suggestions from our English Language Advisory Council, the ELAC. Parents who are parents of English learners. They meet frequently, they meet with me in order to discuss their perspective on how their English learner is performing in school, what challenges and what successes, what's working, what's not working, what we as a school can do to support them. And based on their advice, based on that conversation, it goes back to the site council and we modify these strategies and activities, and again, reallocate funding to support these strategies and activities. I said this before, this is a living document. It changes as necessary. How do we know when we've met goal number 2? Here you have a little bit of data, English learner progress. This data is not current. This is not from this year. We will get this year's data at a later date. But at the point when this data was taken, we had Rogers had 67.6% of our students were making progress towards English language proficiency. According to the state, as you can see in this chart down here, anything above 65% or higher is considered to be very high. So our progress level at this point in time was very high. The other piece I want to share with you is that the number of English language learners at this point in time was 34. So of all the students at Rogers, which was approximately 470 students, 34 of those students were classified as English learners. That's not to say that there are other students that speak Spanish or speak a different language. but these are students that have been identified as needing support in developing proficiency with the English language. Will Rogers reclassification data. Reclassification is when a student exits that classification as being an English learner. It's something that we want to success. When a student reclassifies, it's a huge moment in their life, and it's something that we strive to accomplish. This data here goes longitudinally back to 2019, 2020, 2021, and again, this time next year, we'll have 2022 data. If you take a look at the blue chart here, the tall bar, 42. So in 2019, we had 42 students who were classified as English learners. Of those 42 students, 7 were reclassified. So that previous chart that I showed you, I believe, yes, the 35 students came from 2019. So that ratio, of 42 students, 7 were reclassified, represents that 17% of our students that year were reclassified as being English proficient. That was considered by the state to be very high. That's a point of celebration. As a school, we would like to maintain that rate of 17%. We would like to increase that rate to 18, 19, 20%. The data that you see in front of you doesn't support that. That indicates that we have work to do. If you look at the green bars, the green section, 2020, we had a total of 37 students who were designated as English learners. Of those 37 students, 4 were reclassified. The year beyond that, 2021, we had 43 students who were designated as English learners. Of those 43 students, 4 were reclassified. So those of you that are statisticians looking at this data, doing some quick analysis, you can see that 17% of our students in 2019 were reclassified. That number declined to 11%, and then it further declined to 9%. This is the wrong direction. We want that number to be increasing. So the big question is, what happened? Pandemic happened. Zoom school happened. School closures happened. Trauma happened. We weren't able to teach students the way that we know students need to be taught. That's what happened. And we're seeing this trend not just at Rogers, but everywhere. So it's something that we are aware of. And it's something when we have our students back on campus now, full-time, engaging activities, we are working very hard to increase that. This just goes to show you that high quality instruction is so important. And I do anticipate that come next year, when we have another bar on this graph, another column on this graph, that number will continue to increase, that our reclassification rate will increase. What strategies do we use to meet goal number 3? So goal number 3 was a social emotional learning goal, and this was crafted well before the pandemic, and it's coming in very handy right now. The social emotional learning is something that we are falling back on. We're relying on this during this difficult time. So we have mental health support, community building supports, we have school communication, parent engagement workshops, spring community events such as Cinco de Mayo, which we hope we're going to be able to do. I don't see any reason whatsoever why we can't do it this May. We have volunteer opportunities, and yes, some of your some parents are coming into the school, and we're doing these opportunities. We had an amazing first grade holiday sing-along yesterday, where all the classes and most of the parents were in attendance, and we were, as a school, able to celebrate our students as they were celebrating the holiday. And our PE coaches, our teacher beautification day, welcome back picnic. You can see the trend. These are community building activities. This is the community that exists in Will Rogers Learning Community, and it is so important, and it has such monumental impact on our students when we're able to be together and celebrate. So these are things that teachers are aware of, that we as a school are aware of, and that we're trying to facilitate so that our students do feel a part of a community. Beyond this, however, there's another listed right here. So as you can see, there's lots of them. But beyond this, how do we know when we've met goal number 3? It's difficult to measure social emotional learning. How do we do that? How do we do that quantitatively? It's a very much subjective attempt. However, one means that we do and that we're further developing is using the International Baccalaureate Learner Profile. So you've heard this, you've heard your teachers talk about it, you've heard me talk about it, it's on the website. This is a major component of the International Baccalaureate program. And I hope that your child has come home And I hope that they've dropped words like, I'm being open-minded, or Mom, you're very knowledgeable today, or, that was a very principled thing that you did. I'm truly hoping that they're emulating some of this vocabulary, because I know our teachers are. And when we talk about being knowledgeable, when we talk about being inquirers, thinkers, risk takers, open-minded, these are attributes that as an IB school, we wish to develop in every student. So rather than looking at a child and just identifying that child as being English proficient, or as being on grade level with mathematics, or above grade level with ELA, we want to say that child is principled. That child is open-minded. And as a teacher, this is why your child is open-minded. This is what your child did. Here's a photograph of your child. And we're proud of your child for being this person. Remember that education at school, particularly at the elementary level, particularly post-pandemic, is much more than academics. It's social emotional learning. And this is one way for us to be able to focus our lens on something in addition to the academic piece. So we're making progress. We are not there yet. It's a work in progress, but this is something that we hope to be able to report on and to be able to share with families in the years to come. So big question. How do we fund these strategies? You just saw me go through 9, 10 different pages of some of the activities that occur. So as a Title I school, a portion of our funding comes from the federal government. Title I status is obtained by a certain percentage of our students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. And at Rogers, we at the moment have at least 40% of our students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. Because of that status, that Title I status, we received this year $169,557 in Title I funds. And those funds are earmarked in particular ways. They have to go to students. They have to be able to support students. The work of the school site council is to allocate that money to support those strategies and activities I just shared. We also have stretch grant funds. Stretch grant funds come from the Santa Monica Ed Foundation. Thank goodness for the Santa Monica Ed Foundation. Thank goodness for your generous donations. That money does come back to us. It comes back in the number $68,911, significant, and it supports so much of what we do at the school. Our PTA, and I do see a PTA member on here, several of you in fact, thank you to the PTA. In this particular SPSA document, $8,400 has been provided by the PTA. They supply far more than $8,400. Let me just say that. They supply far more than that. But in this particular document, as it exists right now, we have specifically identified one particular strategy activity that is supported by the PTA, and it's a subscription program for $8,400. So thank you to the PTA. And Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District funds. $20,000 is earmarked by Ed Services to each school site to support their site plan for student achievement. And our $20,000, and if you were to look at the site plan for student achievement at the even more granular level, you would see that that is supporting our work with Teachers College, Reading and Writing Project, professional development and materials. I do want to say, like with the PTA, the district provides much more than $20,000. It provided, I gave 2 examples, our literacy coach, our level literacy interventionists. Those are 2 full-time positions with benefits and everything else on top of them that is funded by the district. So it's not possible for us to really quantify the amount of money that the district provides to support the school, but that's just something that has been specifically earmarked. Quickly again, the site council is a body of teachers, parents, and administrators who work together to develop the SPSA and to align funding and strategy. And you can join the SSC. It's a fun group. It's better when we're in person, and we're going to try and get back to be in person. But please, if you have any interest in this, you can come. You can come as a member. You can seek membership, or you can come as an attendee and just as a participant and just watch. It does have material consequences on our students, and it's in a very important. It's a very important body. So our yearly cycle of inquiry, engagement, and improvement, and we are going to wrap this up. So just hang in there and bear with me for a few more minutes. You've been a great audience, so thank you very much. In August, September, we take a look at the data, whatever the data is. And right now, there's not a lot of it because of the circumstances of the last couple of years, but we're gathering that together. We review the goals and the strategies, and we begin to implement new strategies. If something's working, Why change it? We keep it. If something could be improved, we improve it. If something needs to be tossed aside, we toss it aside and we develop something else. But that's the time of the year when we actually take a look at what we're going to do. In November, we take a look at the interim data. We measured the effectiveness of the current goals and strategies. Is it working? Remember, it's a living document. We can change this and we can make necessary adjustments to strategies. March and April, we again look at data, progress data. We measure the effectiveness of the goals and strategies. We make changes. So there's several points throughout the year we can tweak, right? It's an iterative process. We're always changing, identifying. May and June at the end of the school year, we identify goals, improvements, as well as strategies for the upcoming school year. Hey, do we want to continue with Teachers College? Do we want to try something else? So these are important decisions that are made at the site council level. It's a public meeting. The agenda is posted online, the minutes are posted online, and anyone is welcome to attend. So please keep that in the back of your mind. We would love to see more membership there. And nearing the end of this, I do have a special treat for everyone. We are celebrating our community by capital improvements. And in these pictures, you can see that we have new furniture. We, a few years ago, got new smart boards. We have new bright windows that open up and allow the fresh non-COVID air to come into the classrooms. And we also, the latest addition, latest and greatest, are the upgraded HVAC systems. And this is a picture, it's not a glorious picture, but it's still a picture nonetheless of the condensers that support the heating and cooling units in the classroom. The district just recently hired I'm not sure what her exact title is. She's a telejournalist, reporter, and she's put together a very quick, I think it's a 2 or 3 minute little video that's based at Rogers, starring some Rogers staff, including yours truly. So I'm going to press play on this. We're going to enjoy this, and then and we'll continue on to the Q&A section. Sarah, I can see you. Can you give me a thumbs up that you can actually see the video when the video goes? So I have screen share and sometimes it doesn't automatically switch over to a new window. Sarah, do you see a white screen right now?
Yes, it's loading. And when you hit share screen, did you select share audio?
I'm sorry, I did say that again, Sarah?
I'm sorry, we could hear it. I apologize for that.
Okay, good. All right. My Zoom skills are not that proficient. Okay, let me just press play, sit back and enjoy.
Community in Santa Monica. We want them to be in an area where they can learn and they can bring their best selves every day. This school was built in the 1940s, and over the years, classrooms have become a little run down.
The most exciting thing is finally having air conditioning.
Even with a coastal breeze, they're still
Brutally hot.
But thanks to the modernization project, a new heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system was installed throughout campus.
And control the temperatures in our classroom.
Not only do these systems work to keep students and staff cool or warm, it also ensures that
the air quality is safe, that we do have upgraded HVAC systems that are able to circulate the air, filter the air, clean the air.
The modernization project began in 2015 and included new state-of-the-art classroom technology, painting the interiors of classrooms and exteriors of the school, replacing all flooring and doors, and included accessibility projects. The installation of LED lighting and new flexible furniture was also added. Updated security cameras and fire alarm systems were also fully installed and programmed.
This is their home. They spend 6.5 hours here a day. And by the time a child's in 5th grade, this has certainly become a familiar area. So when we do bring in something new or a new addition, yeah, they notice.
New window features were replaced, which helped bring in natural lighting, great for creating a positive learning environment. The next steps will include new bells, clocks, public address systems, and an upgraded intrusion alarm system. These modernization projects, Brooke says, help give the school a fresh look.
It creates a happy space, the safe space. Rather than entering a dark room, kids come into a classroom that's flooded with light. It sets the tone for the day and sets the tone for learning.
The changes were paid for by voter-approved school bonds, measures BB, ES, and SMS. Burrow says she's looking forward to what the future holds.
There's definitely an increased excitement level. Looking forward to more changes.
Keep an eye out for upcoming meetings to discuss the design of a new classroom building that will help replace old portable classrooms.
All right, so thank you, Esme, for putting that together. What happened? All right, I pressed the wrong red box and everything closed down. I'm just looking at my computer I have off to the side to see if there's any other important elements I need to review. Nope, the next slide is actually 5 big white question marks. So it's now time for Q&A. So I have exactly 17 minutes before my next meeting, but if anyone does have any questions regarding what you just saw, what you just heard, please don't be shy. I'm happy to help you. And we have some wonderful people here as well that can contribute. So are there any questions? This is why I don't love Zoom presentations. If I had you all in the room together, you would have no choice but to ask questions. Well, I listen, I'm sure that was a ton of information. And that was only the tip of the iceberg, literally the tip of the iceberg. These documents extend down to a very, very granular level, and they occur and they live out in the classroom on a minute-to-minute basis. So my suggestion for everyone here is, please, as you're talking to other Rogers families, colleagues, this will be made public. It is being recorded. The document will be shared with families. Review it, talk about it. If questions arise, reach out to me. As we open the campus, as more and more volunteer opportunities occur, as students are doing things, publishing parties or what have you, come to the campus. Let's get back to normal. Be here. Please see what's happening so that these words and these goals and this data and all this abstract information I just provided to you is actually happening to you in real time in front of you. And I think one of the biggest goals that I have, if not the biggest goal, is to create a place of joy, that when students are here and they're happy and they're laughing and they're smiling and they love school, they love learning, and they're identifying as a learner, then we know that we have succeeded. And ultimately, that's what we want. So please, as participants, as partners in your child's education, continue to be a part of their education and continue to be a part of our lives here at Rogers. So with that, I'm now going to stop recording, and I will stick around for a few minutes if anyone wants to remain. And once again, thank you, Sarah, for your wonderful work on the PowerPoint. I do appreciate that.